Welcome to our series on Irish native trees. In this episode, we're going to talk about the rowan tree. And the rowan tree, or often known as the mountain ash, is one of Ireland's toughest trees. It's certainly not one of its biggest. It could nearly be described as a shrub. In fact, quite often it will grow, like these specimens, underneath other bigger trees. But rowan trees can grow at a higher altitude, higher up the mountain, than any other tree in Ireland. They're very, very tough. They can put up with tough weather, with poor soils, and with a lot of rain. Hence their name, mountain ash. To identify a rowan tree, like all trees, it's good to look at three things. To look at their leaf, look at their fruit or seeds, and look at their bark. And the leaf of the tree, of the rowan tree, or mountain ash tree, looks a bit like our also native common ash. It has a whole load of leaflets on one leaf. But the difference between this and the common ash, the leaflets are smaller and importantly, they're serrated. They're jaggedy at the edge. Each leaflet had these little fine points all along the edge. That's the first way that we tell our rowan tree. The second way we tell our rowan tree is that they have bright clusters of creamy white flowers in spring, which when pollinated by some of our hoverflies and bees, turn into these beautiful berries that are still maturing as it's early autumn. And these berries will go a rich, rich red colour. And of course, inside each one of the berries is a couple of seeds. Birds will eat these berries, and they'll roost in amongst big trees. And the seeds will pass right through the little systems and will fall down in a bit of bird manure. Hence the birds plant these trees, much like the ones that we see here, planted by birds that took an opportunity to rest in the Scots pines above us. And the last way of identifying the rowan tree is looking at the bark. The bark is smooth and it's grey with nearly a silvery tinge, but very, very smooth, that's the key. And it often has little white lichens that will grow on it. And sometimes, if it's at a higher altitude or in a very damp area, it will have patches of moss growing on it too. Rowan trees support a lot of biodiversity. Those berries that I mentioned, they support loads of different birds. Blackbirds, robins, song thrushes, birds you might be familiar with in your own garden. But they also support big numbers of other thrushes like fieldfare and redwings that come from their breeding grounds far north of here, Scandinavia, Scotland, and they fly down to here in autumn time and they gorge on these berries and then of course spread the seeds around as they go. And rowan leaves are a favourite of our largest native animal, the red deer. And the red deer will prefer rowan leaves to any other tree leaves. And of course they'll prefer tree leaves to grass if they can get them. Higher nutritional value, and they must think they taste delicious. And then of course all the cracks in the bark will support lots of different insects. All native plants. The insects and the smaller animals around are used to the native plants, and then the slightly larger animals that hunt them are also used to them, and they know that they're a safe place to be or a safe food source for them to be able to exploit. Rowan trees from an ecosystem service. And ecosystems are what nature does for us. Rowan trees are able to absorb a lot of water. They're able to dry out land in places where other trees could not, because they can grow in very poor land. And they also are a very beautiful thing to have growing. They filter the air, they capture carbons, they help clean the air for us. And they're well suited for growing, or at least different varieties of them are, in people's gardens, as they don't grow too big and they give that lovely spring flower colour and then that lovely autumnal colour with their berries.